Hey guys, Tommy Bauer here, the Headline Music CEO and founder. I'm excited because today is our first ever episode of the Friday Feature interview series. We have a special guest today. Her name is Jocelyn Garrett. And for those of you who don't know, the Friday Feature is something we're going to be doing on a regular basis. It's for artists that we find in our mobile app who are either performing really well, we're into their music, and we want to give them the extra exposure that they deserve. So, coming from Chicago, Illinois, without further ado, Jocelyn Garrett. All right, so I'm here with Jocelyn Garrett, and I'm excited about this because she is actually the first person to be on the Friday feature. How you doing, Jocelyn?
Woo, I am living the dream. Thank you for having me.
The American dream.
The American dream.
All right, good. Yeah, it's nice. I'm excited about this, and I'm ready to get started. So the first question I want to ask you is, I know you just had a album release, and I want you to talk a little bit about that. Tell me some of the things that you liked about it, didn't like about the process. How was it?
Well, it literally it's been like a dream. The whole process, in all honesty. So the album release party happened November 16th, right before my album dropped November 18th.
Right.
And the process before that, it really was a long-standing process. I mean, it took a year and a half just to make the album. Justin, James, my producer, and I, we actually created it together where I had the ability to songwrite and perform all the songs on my album. So leading up to the album release party, it really kind of was putting all the pieces and all the people that have kind of been a part of this project with me,
Right.
make sure that they were there with me, and it's a group and team effort. So it was so much fun, and I can't believe it was literally like about a month ago.
Right. How was that party? What was that like? What'd you
Oh,
guys
it was
do?
so fun. Well, I drank a little bit, maybe a little bit more than a little bit, but we had photographers there. I mean, we had people interviewing there. We had someone from Scene Chicago there.
Wow.
Just really wanted to support the hard work that not only everyone a part of this project, but just that team effort to really just make this album huge for people in Chicago.
Right. Perfect. So, what was your favorite song, would you say, on that album? How many songs were there?
There's 11 tracks to the album.
Okay.
Um, in all honesty, there's not one specific track that's like, oh, this is my favorite. I think they all resonate a little differently with me. I wrote each of them during a different time in my life that just sparked and inspired me.
Uh huh.
But if I have to say or pick necessarily one to date, I have been nonstop listening to chess games.
Okay.
And that's right now been one of the top downloads. So I would have to say right now chess games, but ask me a week from now and it could be a different.
So, what is chess games about exactly?
Chess games is about metaphorically playing a game of chess
Mm-hmm.
and kind of being the queen where the queen kind of trumps all the checker or the chess pieces.
Nice.
And it's really metaphorically for the game of love and how you can like play chess to like that game. So it's a really fun song. I love singing it and I love performing it. But yeah, I've been
Right.
vibing out a lot to that one.
Yeah, I've actually heard it a few times. I like it too. It's got a
Yeah,
nice vibe to it, and yeah, I see big things with that one.
yeah, it's fun. It's a fun
Um,
one.
let's see. So, what would you say is one of the biggest challenges that you faced so far in the music industry? Is it, would you say, getting your name out there? Is it, just advertising? Is it trying to book gigs? What would you say is the challenge for you?
In all honesty, I think the biggest challenge is really staying true to your music and who you are. There's a lot of different directions you can get pulled within this industry, and since this album is really near and dear to my heart, since I wrote all the songs,
Right.
just finding the people that really understand me
Mm-hmm.
and not kind of falling into peer pressure of I should do this because it might get me somewhere.
Sure.
I always just want to stay true to who I am and not get pulled in and sucked into some of the wrong avenues that you can be as an artist.
Sure. Have you seen that a lot already early on in your career?
I did starting off initially. And being very new, not knowing a lot of people and leaning on people, I definitely had to make a couple of mistakes in order to get where I am. But yeah, just staying true and really understanding your goal at the end of the day and making sure you make decisions based on that goal.
Right. Good answer. So,
Thanks.
what do you like the most about being a musician? Then, would you say it's people starting to notice your music? Would you say it's seeing your numbers go up on different platforms? What would you say it is? Just being in the studio?
Oh, I mean, being in the studio is like kind of home for me. I think it's liberating. I mean, I write, I perform. It's not necessarily to, gain an audience. I think that music is a ripple effect, and my goal is just to create music that I love, and gaining an audience from that is amazing
Right.
on bonus. So I think at the end of the day, the number one thing is just that inspiration, that freedom, that being able to be that creative and letting it out. And people vibing to it is just a cherry on top. It's so cool.
Yeah, that's one thing I love too, is just seeing how independent musicians and people that they're using their own voice and talents to try and make a difference or whatever the case may be. They're just expressing themselves in these unique ways, and everybody has a different sound. You might get compared to somebody, but ultimately you have your own sound. And I just love that.
Totally, totally. 100%
So,
agree.
speaking of that, who would you say, if anybody, people compare your music to? Is there anybody in particular that you get compared to?
Not necessarily compared to, but I hear a lot of different things as far as my sound in different songs.
Uh
For
huh.
example, when I have like an R&B sound, I hear a low range of like a Toni Braxton, where I
Okay.
don't sound necessarily like her, but I can hit ranges like that. I mean, I've heard Dua Lipa, just on some of the pop tracks. So it's not necessarily one artist that I'm compared to, but it's like, oh, this sounds like it could be this sound or this sound.
Uh huh.
Um, and I think the ranges in my voice, I do have those low tones, but I'm
Sure.
able to hit high notes. So just having those artists that have that lower range.
So would you categorize your music strictly pop then, or would you say that you could, branch out into the almost like EDM featured artist type of person? What do you
That is
think?
such a good question because starting this process, I had to decide, are you going to be pop? Are you going to be R&B? Are you going to be EDM? And I told them I'm not categorizing my music into
Mm-hmm.
one or the other. I want it to stream into any category.
Sure.
And I think there's artists, I mean, look at Taylor Swift as an example. I mean, she started as a country artist going pop, and now she has songs that can really pretty much mainstream into any category. So
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to consider my music really just universal. I mean, I have tracks that are R&B, I have tracks that are EDM, I have tracks that are pop. So I really think it's just based on who listens to it and, how they feel.
All right. So who is it that exactly made you wanted to make that choice for you, as far as where
Um,
you wanted to go with your music?
Probably my producer and I, Justin James, I mean, we really sat down and said, hey, how are we going to make this marketable?
Mm-hmm.
And how are we going to engage people? And I said, let's just make good, goddamn good hits. People like good music. Like, if you like a hit and you like, music, then it doesn't really matter what category you're going to have an ear. So
Right.
I have to say my producer and I worked really hard on that.
Good. Yeah, I'd say the bigger range that you can hit with your different market is the better, The more people you can reach, the better.
Yeah,
Uh,
I agree.
okay, so let's see. What would you say that you hate the most about being a musician? Is there anything in particular, whether it's getting stuck on your lyrics, or do you have anything in particular that you don't necessarily care for in the music business?
Um, yeah, probably
Politics?
the business side. I love the music, not so good at the business. And when I say that, it really is. I mean, it is what it is. It's a business. I
Uh-huh.
mean, you are a brand. I mean, you still have to sell yourself and you have to sell your music. And I don't think people understand how much work day in, day out, that you really have to dedicate time to just to, I mean, even putting one track together could take a day, it could take months. I mean, so I think the business side of it is really hard for me to grasp. And I think that sometimes the business side takes away from the love of music because it does have that politic and that hierarchy. But at the end of the day, if you love what you love, all that stuff comes with it. So,
Right. Yeah, it's all one big game. You
I
gotta play that game.
know.
Oh, that's funny. That's good though. I like that. I like hearing about how you're able to manage the business side of it with your own personal side and put your own twist on it and kind of not fall into, you know, the politics of it and just say, hey, I'm going to do things my way. I respect what you're doing, but at the same time, I'm going to do things the way that I believe they should be done.
Yeah, 100%. And people that gravitate towards just towards my music, then I know that it's really based on the music I wrote and, the performance aspect of it. It's not for a way I look or how I could be perceived. It's really, hey, this is my music. I created my own brand, and if you want to buy into it, then let's talk. But if not, then I'm gonna, go my own route.
Right. So, what does the future hold for Jocelyn Garrett? What's going on in 2020? Anything big? Any news you want to tell
Oh my
somebody?
God. Well, I find out if I will be doing like a small tour either within Chicago or the Midwest,
Really?
the end of January. So that'll be huge. But I will have performances coming up in 2020 within Chicago where a lot of my tracks will be displayed. So I'm looking so forward to that. I've kind of taken, since my album came out, a little bit of a break to catch up on sleep.
Mm-hmm.
But when 2020 comes around, I mean, it's going to be back to the grind.
Good. Yeah, that's good to hear. Is there anything you want to let your viewers know or your followers on Instagram or anybody, anything coming up that you want to let them know, stay tuned for? Anything you want us to push?
Yeah, I mean, I do have a single that I recorded last week that'll be coming out in 2020. It's just a feel good track that's just something that I want to open up the new year with. So look for that everywhere. I don't have a certain date, but that will be coming out soon.
You got a name for it?
Not yet.
Not yet. It's a secret.
Not yet. Yeah, it's a secret.
Oh, that's funny. All right, Jocelyn, we appreciate you taking the time to be on the first ever episode of the Friday feature for Headline Music's mobile app. And we will definitely go ahead and keep an eye on you and your music, and we're looking forward to what 2020 holds.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, remember, guys, you saw her here first.